So before I begin, I have a special announcement which I would like to make from down off the pulpit. The Keenan Chair for Excellence in Teaching at Millbrook. This was established in January 1998. The Keenan Chair for Excellence in Teaching was made possible by a generous gift from the William R. Keenan Jr. Trust and by the support of Thomas S. Keenan III. The Keenan Chair acknowledges excellence in teaching characterized by a mastery of subject matter, a passion for the material and the students being taught, a commitment to Millbrook's ideals, and a joy for teaching. It is awarded at the discretion of the head of school, in consultation with the Dean of Faculty, Dean of Students, and academic deans. A recipient is truly a master teacher. The recipient holds the chair for 3 years, and in addition to the recognition which comes with this distinction, will receive a one-time stipend and a certificate to be placed in the hallway of Schoolhouse. I'm announcing this now, sharing this distinction with the whole community, because nothing says the beginning of school like a great teacher. I am delighted to announce the Keenan Chair for Excellence in Teaching will be awarded now in 2024 to Lindsay Peterson. All right. I hope I've captured your attention. I may seem ancient to some of you, but I'm not that old. 30 years ago, when I was 14 years old, I attended 9th grade at Corcoran High School in Syracuse, New York. Then, students were allowed to smoke cigarettes on school grounds. 18 was the legal age, but no one really enforced it. It was common at the beginning and end of school days and during lunch break to see students hanging outside, smoking. When I would go to Toronto and Montreal and Quebec City on weekends for ice hockey as a young boy, smoking was equally as prevalent. It was not strange to see boys and girls with lighters and cigarettes in their hand. The summer after my third form year at Millbrook in 1995, I spent 3 weeks in Mexico City with my best friend from prom, Fernando Nava. When I walked off the plane, there was no security back then. There was Fernando smoking with the rest of the people in the airport. It was all over North America. I have never smoked anything in my life. The cigarette in the tray is a fake, if you haven't already figured that out. I haven't tried smoking not because I'm holier than thou. I am no angel. Smoking just grossed me out. My parents earned a living by owning a restaurant. I worked there from a young age, and at times, we pretty much lived there. Back in the 80s and 90s, smoking in restaurants was always an option. Smoking or non-smoking was what the hostess might ask you, as if the air could be divided. Despite advanced air filtration systems, my family and I would regularly arrive home with our hair clothes, skin, reeking of smoke. So, I've never tried smoking because from an early age I felt like I arrived home smelling kind of nasty, and most of the time there was nothing I could do about it. My point is that smoking was simply normal for the first third of my life. There was nothing disrespectful about it. It was even advertised as and widely regarded as cool. Then, after years of data collection over multiple generations, there was a growing body of research that suggested smoking was bad. Correlations of smoking and negative health effects were drawn, and then those correlations became causations. Smoking was proven to cause lung cancer, heart disease, skin cancer, thinning hair, nail discoloration. Millions of people were addicted and couldn't break the nicotine fix, even though they knew the potentially fatal effects of the habit. Worse, and arguably far worse, secondhand smoke was proven to sometimes hurt and kill people who never smoked at all, people who just happened to be in close proximity of smokers. With legislation, education, some scary commercials, law and government intervention, and healthy living campaigns, the smoke significantly cleared. We just don't see cigarettes like we used to. They are around, but on the endangered list for the betterment of mankind. So call me dramatic, but now there is a growing body of research that suggests that cell phones are going to be something we look back upon in a similar way. Phones will be this generation's cigarette. The damage phones will cause will not be outwardly obvious as the physical threats of cigarettes. Worse, I think. They will be deeply internal, hard to trace, threats to our spiritual and mental health, depression, loneliness, anxiety, mental fragility, addiction. These often debilitating struggles and disorders will take the place of lung cancer, heart disease, and skin cancer. Some say they already have. I've never felt a stronger moral obligation as an educator, a sense of duty, and of care than to address this issue, our phone habits, with all of you. The question at the heart of the matter that I suggest we honestly face is, do we possess our phones, or do our phones possess us? I am no fool. Phones are not going anywhere. No one is dropping the gloves with Apple or Samsung or Google at the moment. We are all most likely going to own phones for the rest of our lives, and there are so many positives attached. These machines can be life-changing, remarkable tools that help us build efficiencies and connections from which we all benefit. I think of photo albums that capture so many wonderful moments and memories of the lives of my children, the FaceTimes with grandma from far away, Crossy Road contests with my kids, though my son tells me that's dated, or watching my daughter's gymnastics meet when I could not be there in person. Maybe a favorite function of mine, sitting down with an elder, a relative, a friend, a stranger, asking them what years they were teenagers, when were they 13 to 18 years old, and then scrolling through the Billboard top 25 songs of those years and pulling them up on Spotify. And yet, with the good comes the bad. A growing body of research warns us of the undeniably damaging and harmful effects of phones, especially for teenagers who are developing into adulthood, who biologically depend, grow, thrive, and survive on social interaction. That's you. Here are the 4 big harms, according to researcher Jonathan Haidt. Social deprivation. When studies show that the average American teenager spends 7 hours a day on his or her phone, which is nearly half of every day when you subtract sleep, they are depriving themselves of authentic and real social interaction. Sleep deprivation. There are more sleep studies and sleep aids than ever before in the history of mankind. Why? Because sleep has declined in quantity and quality for smartphone users. With worse sleep comes a variety of effects, including depression and anxiety, a lack of learning, irritability, and when we're tired, we are all prone to making more mistakes. Addiction. You should read Adam Alter's book, Irresistible: Addictive Behaviors in Technology. Everything you interact with is meant to keep you hooked. Fun fact, the late and legendary CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, wouldn't let his children have these devices because he and his team intentionally designed them to keep people hooked and addicted. And attention fragmentation. There are between 150 and 500 intentional interruptions from notifications on average on any given day on every phone. Since the beginning of this talk, I bet my phone has 50 to 60 notifications. So few of them are important. What are they about? A junk email, Taylor Swift, a flash sale at Lululemon, a new color Stanley that's supposed to make me feel better, or the next clever TikTok dance. When you do the math, if we permitted and paid attention to every notification, none of us would have more than 1 minute to think on our own, much less interact with others without interruption. Almost never is something necessary to address in the moment. Almost never. It's just people, big business, and marketers trying to occupy our headspace with their thoughts, not ours. So consider this quotation from my favorite author and favorite book, Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1891. To influence a person is to take away his soul. He does not think his natural thoughts or burn with his natural passions. He becomes an echo of someone else's music, an actor of a part not written for him. To realize one's nature perfectly, that is what each of us is here for. And people are afraid of themselves nowadays. They've forgotten the highest of all duties, the duty that one owes to oneself. And when we are mindlessly influenced, our souls starve and our courage dies. Wilde warns us to be careful. Be very careful of the difference between information and influence. At the moment, there is a collective movement in schools all over the country. 9 states have banned phones entirely in schools. Boarding schools that you all know, Deerfield, St. Andrews, Miss Porter's, have put in no phone zones and screen-free spaces, leave it in your room policies, much like us. Other boarding schools have gone full-on summer camp mode. Don't bring it at all, tech-free. We are not going summer camp mode. And yet, we, the faculty, are convinced that what we are doing, leave it in your room during the academic day, keep Flagler Memorial Chapel, Chelsea Morrison Theater, and Casartano Hall as no phone zones, is the right thing to do for you as individuals, and more importantly, for us as a community. We are going to rewire our habits. We are leaning into being a little more self-aware and a lot more present. We're going to have to help each other. We are not eliminating phones. We are regulating our self-discipline, and there's no better place to regulate habits than with people who share similar values in a community. And if we all do it, we all help one another, we will all build better, healthier habits for the future. Now, some of you have asked me questions. How do I tell time? My answer: learn it. Get a watch. Ask someone for the time. Go to your first class and go with the flow. How do I keep my schedule? How do I know where to go? Call me a jerk, but please do not let any college or university know that you ever asked me that question. If you cannot remember 4 classes in a given day, may God help your teachers, college professors, and future coworkers. What about an emergency? And that's good of you to ask. The dangers online are arguably and potentially worse than the dangers in the real world. In many ways, the world has never been safer. In all probability, your phones will save you from nothing. We have adults here whose job it is to guide you and keep you safe. This is why the AOD and MOD will have a phone. You may also see teachers with phones in their classroom and offices. This is for our communication to take care of you. So a few final thoughts. Respect yourself. You are at Millbrook because of your hard work and your desire and your parents' desire for you to have an excellent education. So be at Millbrook. Don't permit algorithms and bots to invade your time to think here, to be here, to interact here. Olympic champion and three-point GOAT Steph Curry loves to quote, "Be where your feet are." Respect others. Give all with whom you come in contact your undivided attention. Please do not show us that whatever is hitting you up on the phone is more important. It's just not. Join Mr. Feidelson, Mr. Tom, and our faculty on a listening campaign. And respect this community. The more you open yourself up to developing relationships here, the tighter your classes will bond, the more information you will retain, the more believable the work of the cast and crew will be, the more competitive our teams will be, and the more connected our Millbrook community will become. The irony of it all is that which was designed to keep us connected has kept us disconnected. And if we work a little harder at connecting here, together, with one another, I think we will graduate healthier, happier, smarter, more socially adjusted, more socially adept, better rested, more focused critical thinkers. You will have a high school experience that only the lucky, privileged few will have. My goal tonight was to give you all a sense of why we have made this shift. I have now received 78 emails and counting from your parents, thanking our faculty for building this habit of mind into our culture. I don't read those emails as validation. I read them as an apology. We, the adults in your life, are struggling to guide you because we just didn't know. Millbrook and I bet some of your parents would admit it too, have failed you in some ways. We are learning alongside of you, from cigarettes to cell phones, and I believe it's never too late to make a wrong right. By changing your habits now, I will wager a confident bet that you will become even better parents and educators than us someday. And in the end, a better future is really what we're all after, isn't it? Thank you for listening. Let's have a great year.